Welcome to Win Your Mind, Win Your Market, the podcast where we dive deep into the mindset that drives business success. We believe that winning in business starts with winning in your mind. Every week, we bring you the biggest names in the home service space. Industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators who share their insights on how a winning mindset has shaped their journey to success. Get ready to explore the strategies, habits, and mental frameworks that can help you not only excel in your business, but dominate your market. Whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, this podcast is your go-to resource for mastering the mental game of business. I'm Ryan Fenn with Justin Judd. Let's get started, because when you win your mind, you win your market. All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again for another episode of the Win Your Mind, Win Your Market podcast. My name is Ryan Fenn, and as always, with me is my sidekick, my mindset guru, my lover of food and the universe, Mr. Justin Judd. Welcome.
Hey. I like how your intro always changes a little bit, but it's always really good.
Yeah. The next one's going to be very insulting. So we're super excited. We have, we've been really lucky up to this point to have some just amazing guests on the podcast, and they just seem to keep getting better and better. Not to insult any of the previous guests of the podcast, but Kelly Schols is a very, we're very excited about having him here. He's a business consultant, success mentor. He's an author. For those of you who have been around him, know that he's, authoritative when it comes to mindset and how mindset affects us in business. He talks a lot about people who have been through struggles and trials and overcome those and the importance of those. So thank you so much for being here, Kelly. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Ryan. I appreciate it. You as well, Justin.
Yeah, happy to have you, man.
So Kelly, part of the purpose of this podcast, the purpose that we bring people together is, we're trying to dig deeper into our minds. We're trying to understand what drives people. We're trying to understand why we are who we are and what we do. And a lot of times we listen to these business podcasts, and they're great and they're good for learning how to do business. But sometimes there's underlying issues, and people get into business and they go, man, I'm doing it just like that guy.
Right.
But they're not seeing the success, and they're not really realizing that it's a deeper mindset issue. And usually that's causing bad vibrations and like the sales guy who says, I pitched it exactly the same as this guy, but he closes 100 more deals than I do.
Right.
And we can't really on the surface say, hey, this is why. It's a deeper issue. So could you, introduce us who you are, where you came from, and kind of tell us about what drove you to understand why mindset is so important?
Well, yeah. How deep do you want me to go? It's a question.
Yeah, we have 4 hours.
As deep as you want. As deep as you want.
Yeah, we like the deep stuff.
So I was born and raised 60 miles north of Seattle in a little bedroom farming logging community. From mindset, it started at a very young age. My mother always told me, and I'm the youngest of 3 boys, and I'm the mellow one of the 3. And I wrote a book, Never by the Book, because I didn't do things by the book. Well, I had 2 older brothers that were examples for me. Let me just say, the book, I read I haven't read it yet. I'm planning on reading it. But I first read it as Never Buy, B-U-Y, the book. Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, I can't. So
Doesn't mean I don't want you to buy it.
I can't have it. I guess it's like, don't buy this book. No, so it's called Never Buy the Book. For anybody that's watching, this is Kelly's book. So yeah, sorry to interrupt.
That's
please.
All right. So anyway, our mom never let us say can't, ever.
Good.
If we said we couldn't do anything, we would get a whooping. And she'd say, I don't ever want to hear that, can't, never did anything. And that is
Do you know where
transformed.
she learned that from?
I don't know, and I never got the chance to really ask her about it before she passed away. But it just was embedded in us. And I've embedded it into my 2 girls, is I don't want to hear can't. Can't never did anything. Figure out a way. And I use that with my employees when I had my company too. Don't come to me and say you can't do something. Come to me with an issue or something, but also with that, come to me with a solution, and let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, how great is it that you mentioned that your mom, she's passed away, but her teachings now are, and we don't know where it came from, but it's like now it's going into being taught to your daughters, which is the most important of this. But then also the people listening to this podcast, the people reading your book. It's like so great to see these concepts live on beyond her life, and that's just such an honor to her life. That's really cool.
Yeah, it would be really interesting to see where she learned that from. And I know that's probably not possible now, but it's wild how much our environment shapes us.
Yeah.
And we're always learning we're always learning things whether we're conscious of it or not. The way that we're raised and the stuff that we hear every single day, whether we're conscious of the fact that we're processing that information or not, we're processing that information.
We're processing it,
we view the world according to how we process that information. So it would be interesting to see where she learned that from, but that's really cool that she was able to instill that into you.
Next time I talk to one of my aunt and uncles, I'll ask them if they know. Yeah, that was instilled in us from a young age. But so then, I went through some issues where got caught up in alcoholism, and by the time I was 24, I was a complete alcoholic and dead broke. And I mean, when I say I was an alcoholic, I'd been in a motorcycle accident I should have been killed in. I'd been in 2 car accidents I should have been killed in, and I'd been arrested 3 times, all for alcohol.
Wow.
By the time I was 24.
Wow.
And at that point, what's that?
Going hard.
Yeah. And that's probably when you got to dig deep, and now you got to look at yourself and say, okay, what do I got to do to change? Because I knew from the time I was a little kid, I don't know why, but I always wanted to be a millionaire. That was a big thing, right? Well, I knew I wasn't going to get there at the path I was taking. So I had to change. So how did I do that? I had to look at myself and change my own mindset before anything else. We always want to blame everybody else.
So, keep going.
And even like when I told people I'm an alcoholic, I have to quit, I have to do this in order to change my life, people, you're not an alcoholic. I mean, even my mom at the point, and like I said, I'm the youngest of 3 boys. My middle brother, who's 2 years older than me to the day, who's a big mentor of mine and brother and everything, he quit a year before I did. So he broke the cycle in our family. And a year later, I quit. Well, here's my mom's youngest son, who was, quote, the golden child, coming to her at 24 years old saying, I'm an alcoholic, I need to quit. Well, she didn't want to hear that. But once I, talked through it and didn't blame anybody else and took the burden on myself and looked in the mirror and said, what do I need to do? People were like, oh, okay, this guy's serious.
Yeah. So this is actually
really deep.
This leads into a point that we kind of touched on in one of our previous episodes, and I want to dig deeper into this because I think it's really important. Because I think a big trend in business and in the world in general is trending towards this improvement of mindset. It's talked about a lot. I don't recall hearing about it as much, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Right. It seems to be trending that people are starting to kind of go, oh, there's something to this now. But the problem I see is we talk about changing your mindset and how important it is.
Right.
But we there aren't a lot of people that are talking about the tools to actually do that. Because in a lot of people's heads, they think, oh, I just need to change my mind. I just need to,
Right.
I need to start thinking a different way. And you go, it's kind of like saying, oh, I'm fat, I want to be skinny, so I'm just going to think, okay, I'm skinny now, right? Like it doesn't, there's a process to change the mindset. It's not just changing your mind, like saying, I think it's okay to drink, and now I think it's not okay to drink. or, it's not just changing your mind, it's changing your mindset, which is an actual fairly difficult, maybe difficult is not the right word, it's a laborious process that we have to go through. Just like where we have to, if we want to lose weight, we have to, go through this process to do that.
Yep.
Could you maybe expound on that idea on helping people see the difference between changing our mind and changing our mindset?
To be able to change your mindset, there's a couple different ways that I've done it. Is number one, surround yourself with people, like me, okay? I had to change, in order to quit drinking, I had to change my surroundings of who I was hanging out with. Fortunately for me, two of my best friends are still my best friends today. When I went to them and told them, they supported me 100%. There was other friends who I thought were friends. Hell, I haven't talked to them in 34 years. And that's when I quit drinking.
Yeah.
So, you gotta, and it's the same thing, I wanted to be a millionaire. How am I going to do that? Surround yourself with people. If you go to people that are successful in whatever you want to do, okay, you want to quit drinking, you want to become a millionaire, you want to become a great father, you want to become a great husband, whatever it is, go find people that are doing that are great at that, and ask for their help. They'll help you.
You want to get more dates, hang around Justin,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Kelly, I want to touch on something that you said real quick, because I've experienced the same exact thing firsthand, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So you talked about you got to a certain point where you admitted to yourself that you were an alcoholic, and when you did that, you looked yourself in the mirror and you took accountability for where you were at in life.
Yep.
So I got sober a while back and went through the same exact experience. A lot of people talk about rock bottom. And I think when a lot of people think about rock bottom, they think that it's external circumstances. So I got locked up, or I went through the court system, or I got a DUI. And although that can drive change sometimes, for me it was an internal rock bottom. Yep. I was sick and tired of hurting inside and feeling the way.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah, internally.
Yep.
Internally. And for me, when I got to that point and I hit that internal rock bottom, I looked in the mirror and I took 100% accountability for where I was at in life. I did not blame it on anybody else. I had some shitty stuff that happened to me when I was younger. I stopped blaming it on that.
Yep.
I took full accountability for where I was at, and I basically told myself, look, Justin, you're the one that got yourself here, and you're the only one that's going to get yourself out of here. Yep. And when I did that, that was one of the biggest mindset shifts that ever happened for me, because now when any situation comes up in life, I really try to own my part in it, because when we own what we can, then we take the power back to change.
Yep.
If we're always blaming it on something else or somebody else, we give up the actual power to make the changes that we need. So anyways, can you touch on that part a little bit, what you experienced?
Same thing. I was the same way. I got to a point where, I ended up getting a DUI, my second one. And before I even went to court or anything, it was literally, I got a DUI on Friday night. I didn't realize it until Monday morning, because I was basically passed out the whole weekend. Monday morning when I got up to go to work, I looked at my wallet and I went, oh shit, it's real. I thought it was a dream. And I went to work that morning and I told my boss and partner, I can't do this anymore. He was the first one I told. And I said, I have to make changes. I can't do this. It was eating me up inside. It was literally killing me from the inside out. So when I took that responsibility for myself, it completely changed my mind on how I was going to move forward. Fast forward, I was 24 years old when that happened. Fast forward, I became a partner. My partner and mentor brought me in as a partner in the business. Fast forward 10 years later, I'm buying him out. Nice. Now, I barely graduated high school. Okay? I had to negotiate my way out of high school. But I barely graduate high school. I'm buying him out. I'm buying a multi-million-dollar company, and it's a year after September 11th, and we're kind of in a recession. He's leaving, and I'm like, how do I do this? How do I, run a multi-million-dollar company? I've never ran a company by myself. So I called my brother, who I told you guys is a mentor of mine and I look up to a lot. And I said, what do I do? He's in the car business, very, very, very successful in the car business. I said, what do I do? How do I run this company? He said, go to work on yourself.
Damn.
And he sent me Brian Tracy's Universal Laws of Success and Achievement.
I love
that. I listened to that every day in my truck for 2 years. And I worked on my mind. Who am I as a leader? You take a kid that's, from a small farming, logging community, never really been out and experienced the world and all that, barely graduated high school, and now you're running a multi-million-dollar company with 30 employees. I had a lot of questions and doubts about myself. But once I started doing the Universal Laws of Success and Achievement, working on myself, on who I can be, it turned the company around.
For anybody listening right now, you just got the recipe for success. Like, it was literally just talk. For those that are willing to hear, you just heard it. Everybody that's thinking, oh, I've got to get these numbers right, or I've got to set up my LLC, or I've got these, all these, there's a million different little tasks and things, and all those things. Those are all, important. Working on yourself, and this is the thing that people don't. It's generally the thing that people don't want to hear.
They don't want to do,
They don't want to hear because it's like saying, and I can say this because I've recently gone through a pretty good weight loss journey. So it's saying to the guy who is addicted to food. And he's, saying, hey, look, dude, you just have to stop eating what you're eating. Yeah. And that's the one thing he doesn't want to hear. He'll hear, give me pills, give me shots, I'll do all this, I'll do all that, all these other million different things. And you go, no, dude, it's the one thing you don't want to do. That's what you need to do. And then it's like, So when you're thinking in terms of, I want to be a good business person, a lot of times we don't want to go, okay, what's keeping me internally from being, a leader? Yeah. And that's going to generally be the answer. So that's super powerful. I want to talk a little bit about, so one of the I have a very different perspective. I was raised I was fortunate enough to have be taught that just alcohol was just not a thing. Right. It wasn't near our home. I've never ever tasted it in my entire life. So I was lucky to have that. I'm very fortunate. That's not, I don't want that to come off at all as like a brag or anything. It's just I got very lucky that my parents taught me that from a young age. So, but sometimes what it sounds like from the outside perspective, from me looking into that, that we say, having overcome these struggles really has helped you become a great person, and I 100% believe that. But now you're teaching your daughters, I assume, like to stay away from this. And so we want to make sure that people like that, as you bring up and as people come into this, they don't have to feel like, oh, I have to go through something like that to be successful. You can still have the mindset and you can still accomplish these great things having not gone through, something as dramatic as what you went through. Would you agree to that? What would be your thoughts on that?
Oh, for sure. I mean, my daughters have been through some stuff, but they haven't been through alcoholism or anything like that. But I was not shy and quiet about sharing everything that happened in my life with my daughters. My daughters know the crap I've been through.
Yeah.
Later in life, they were part of the crap that happened in my life. Like they were 15 and 17, when they lost their mother.
Oh, man.
So, they've been through crap. Fortunately, because of the education and the mindset and everything that my late wife and I think instilled in our daughters, they didn't turn to alcohol and drugs when she passed away.
Man, that right there, I'm really sorry to hear that. I didn't, but thank you so much for sharing that, because it made me think of something that recently happened in our organization that I think can relate. But our over at Chirp, our head of operations, Taylor, his father a couple of weeks ago had a massive heart attack, like is pretty much as big of a heart attack as you can have. And he was known for being the ultimate gym guy. He's a bodybuilder, super healthy, and so people could argue and be like, well, look at he worked out every day,
right,
and he still has a heart attack, And it turns out that it was hereditary, and there was really nothing that could have been done. And the only reason he actually survived was because he worked out every day. And he got down to 10% heart functionality. And then the doctor's like, man, we got to put him on the donor list. A day later, he came up high enough where they felt like that he could handle a surgery and not needed a new heart transplant. And he ended up surviving this and is doing really well. And so I think that plays, exactly with your daughters. It's like we can blame whether you believe in God or the universe, or I'm a God guy, Justin's a universe guy. We all believe in a greater power.
Yep.
You can blame it and say, and then immediately turn to that and say, oh man, I was a good person, I was doing all these things, and my mom passed away.
Right.
Or you can say, man, I'm glad I was doing all those good things.
Yep.
Because when my mom passed away, I had the strength to get through that and survive it. Shit. And I think that your experience, and all the way from your mother to you, all the way down, passing that on, is what got them through that, and not turning. It's just so easy for people to use that excuse and just turn. Justin recently broke his foot, and really bad. I make light of it. It was a really bad break, and at the same time he's dealing with a lot of stuff in his family, and it's just like so easy to just go, okay, so we had some technical difficulties there. The internet decided to stop working for us for a minute. Could have been human error, could have been non-human error. Let's just say that it happened and move on. But this has been just so awesome up to this point. Like, I think kind of the points that we've really touched on is overcoming things, and what really, like, shifting that mindset from that victim of I can be a victim to how are these things helping me? How are these problems in my life helping me become a better person? Just like with the workout thing, it's like we can easily blame that, he still had a heart attack, or we can shift it and say, man, I'm sure glad he worked out every day. I'm sure glad I taught my daughters these things. so that they could withstand this trial.
Well, and
Yeah.
I can even go further into that. So I bought my partner out in 2002. I started listening. We getting feedback here?
Oh, maybe you have 2 tabs open?
I shouldn't have. No? Let me look at something. Okay, let's try again, see if it works. So, I bought my partner out, turned the company around. I take it from a $2 million company to a $6 million company. Then 2008 happens. In 2008, we go from a $6 million company to $3 million company because of the recession. At the same time, I get hit with a $500,000 pension liability notice.
Oh, fun.
So I'm facing, having to pay the union back $500,000 in 3 years. My company went half the size, and nobody knows what's going on because of the economy. So it's like, okay, what am I going to do? Well, same thing. Call my brother. I'm like, God, what do I do? He says, go to work on yourself again. And I did. I went to work on myself. I didn't go to work on the business. I went to work on myself. And I dove deep into personal development. How can I improve as a leader?
Man.
So we were able to get through that. Ended up turning around, rebranding my company, changed my company completely, paid the union back. We had 3 years to pay him off. I paid him off in 2 years. Paid him off in June 10th of 2012. September was when my wife passed away. Just died instantly. So it's like, how do I deal with this? Jump back into more personal development. And not only that, but started counseling. So every time I face something of any adversity, any challenge, anything, instead of point your finger at somebody else or do something, turn to yourself and say, what can I do to become a better person, a better leader, a better husband, a better father?
And any one of those trials.
That is powerful.
Any one of them could have been an excuse to go back.
Every one of them. And I've had a lot of people. I ended up counseling most of my friends through my wife's passing.
Wow.
Because I was doing counseling, I was doing personal development. I mean, I was doing everything I could possibly do to keep my company going, to keep my kids stable, to keep friends stable.
That's so great because, like, your brother, like, you go to your brother.
Yeah.
And it's when you're in that state of mind, when you're in that state of panic, that anxiety, you want to be like, no, shut up. No, I need the real stuff. Come on. No,
Right.
just tell me what to do.
Right.
I don't want to hear that. I need to know what to do right now because I'm going to.
Yeah.
You're in this state of just like, and he's going, calm down.
Yeah.
Center yourself, work on yourself. And it's the heart, when you're in that state of panic, when you're in that anxiety, it is one of the most difficult things in this life to do.
It is.
To center and go, okay, let's work on this.
Yeah.
And because it doesn't, anxiety wants an immediate result. We got to fix this today. That $500,000 or whatever that you owed, you're feeling, I got to pay that back tomorrow. I got to, what do I got to do to get this tomorrow? And I'll do whatever it takes. And it's like, no, you actually have 3 years, and we're gonna work on it. We're gonna figure it out, and you're gonna calm down, and we're gonna get through it. And so that's super powerful.
It's really hard to practice that when you're in the middle of that emotion, but the principle is actually pretty simple. Our external world is a direct reflection of our internal world. So if you go to work on yourself, those things that you're wanting to do in your business happen naturally when you start to work on yourself. One of the biggest mindset shifts that my mentor taught me when I was going through a lot of therapy and just really trying to work through some heavy stuff that I had gone through in my life was the principle of life happens for me, not to me.
Not to me. Yep.
And he would say, Justin, anytime you're going through a struggle, anytime you're going through a super emotional situation, I want you to reframe that situation and tell yourself, this is happening for me and not to me. Because if you can reframe it, then you start to learn from it. Even if it's a difficult situation, you take it and you use it as a step on a ladder to take it to that next level of growth. And that's been something that's been super, super powerful for me in my life.
Yeah, same here. When the union stuff had happened to me, I was like, I wanted to point fingers and all that. When I took responsibility for myself, when I turned it around, that was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life when it came to business, was getting hit with a $500,000 pension liability notice. And people say, how can you say that? Because it made me look at myself as who I was as a leader. It made me say, okay, I need to change. And it changed not only myself, but it changed my company. And then when my wife passed away, it was a horrible, tragic thing that happened. I'd never wish it would have happened for my two daughters, but for me, it changed me. It made me turn around. I was so driven and so focused on what I wanted to accomplish that I didn't sit back and say, wow, look at what we accomplished. After she passed away, it made me, because she was a very giving person that just did anything and everything for people. And after she passed away, it made me sit back and go, wow, her and I and our family had accomplished so much in the short time we were together, that it made me change my drive and focus to more giving. That never would have happened if she wouldn't have passed away.
I'm like blown away a little bit, because it's so easy in this life to blame.
Yep.
To point fingers. When you have the skill, the ability to look at something so tragic, or even the money issue before, when you have the skill to look at that thing and say, okay, what? Of course, we want to mourn the death and we obviously honor that and all that, but we're gonna go through stuff, and there are people that will say, well, he hasn't ever gone through what I've gone through, and they make the excuse of, well, his life is different than mine, and it's like, no, everybody's gone through stuff that they can point to and go, that was really, 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 really hard.
Yeah.
And if you have two options, blame and then turn to self-medication or whatever you need to do to just hide it and bury it, or look at it and say, how, and for me it's God, how is God trying to teach me? What's God teaching me here? What's the lesson here?
Yeah. And
you're able to do that, and that skill is, that's it. That's the answer to everything. That's the answer to life, is the skill of looking at something and saying, okay, what is the purpose of this? How do I become better because of it?
I got another good friend who's a mentor of mine too, Kenny Chapman, and Justin knows him. You might know him too, Ryan.
Shout out Kenny Chapman and Blue Collar Success Group.
Yeah. So Kenny's been a big mentor in my life and friend and everything as well. And he did a 16 CD series it was a 12-week CD series with his life coach years ago that was called Unleash Your Greatest Life. And it was all about personal development. And when my wife passed away, I dove deep into that. And that's just fully working on yourself. And the in-depth I got there was just incredible. But Kenny taught me one thing, and you want to talk about something that just would be a simple, easy thing for if I could say it, mindset shift is, anytime you're feeling like you want to blame somebody else, why me, why this? Go to gratitude.
Oh, yeah.
Go to gratitude, And that was part of it with, I was doing Unleash Your Greatest Life, and I was going through that and counseling and all sorts of stuff when my wife passed away. And I would have to sit down and go to gratitude of, hey, I had 20 great years with her. I got 2 beautiful daughters with her. Her legacy can live on. And that's what pushed me to go through that and get through it.
Man. If people listen to this, like it's amazing. You could listen to this, and it's the one thing you don't want to hear, because that's like you said, when your wife dies, the last thing you want to hear is somebody say, "Hey, you need to be grateful,"
right?
And you're just like, "Shut up! I don't want to hear."
Right.
The one thing you don't want to hear, right? And it's like, that's the answer. It's literally the answer to it all. And it goes, to me, it's not intuitive us naturally. We're not. We have to train ourselves to do this, and this again goes back to religion, where Jesus teaches to lose yourself to find yourself,
right?
And it's like, lose the part that wants to complain and descend, and do the hard thing, which is be grateful, and you're like,
right. Sometimes it's tough, and it was hard for me, especially my youngest daughter. When my wife passed away, every night for probably 2 months, because one of us always tucked her in every night. My oldest daughter, no, she wouldn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
But my youngest daughter, one of us would tuck her in every night. So every night for probably 2 months, when I'd tuck her in, she'd say, "Why? Why, Dad? Why?" And all I could say was, "Amy, there's a bigger picture. We'll figure it out." And I did. And the bigger picture was, it took her death. My wife, they never came up with a diagnosis of why she passed away. But I know it's from stress and anxiety. She was such a high stress, high anxiety person that her heart literally stopped ticking. Wow. She would do anything for everybody except for herself.
Yeah.
I mean, she looked healthy, she looked beautiful, everything, but internally she was a wreck. I've been able to take that and not only use it for myself, but for my daughters. Like my youngest, she used to have panic attacks and stress and anxiety and stuff. And I'd say, "Look, your mother died so you don't have to."
Yeah, that's, oh gosh.
If you look at the stress and anxiety your mother put on herself, and you learn how to breathe and live through that, and learn that you don't need to put yourself through that, you'll have a happier, healthier life.
Man, what a silver lining blessing.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just like,
I preach it all the time, Kelly, and I know there's certain people out there that might disagree with me, that are super, religious, and trust me, I'm super spiritual. I take my relationship with my higher power, the universe, very seriously, but I believe the most important relationship that we can nurture in life is our relationship with ourselves. Oh, can you hear me now?
There you are.
Am I on? All right.
Now you're on.
So I preach.
You take your relationship very seriously with your higher power.
I take my relationship very seriously with the universe. I mean, we talked about gratitude. Yeah. Gratitude. The cool thing about gratitude is it is one of the highest vibrating frequencies there is. And so the cool thing about gratitude is it makes you feel better, but it also attracts more of that stuff back into your life. It's like a double whammy. So I take my relationship with God super seriously. That being said, I genuinely believe that the most important relationship we can nurture in life is the relationship we have with ourselves.
Yep.
Because if we do not take care of ourselves, if we do not treat ourselves kindly, if we do not take care of our physical health and our mental health, it is going to be hard to have the best relationship possible that we can with God. And it's going to be hard to really receive inspiration and receive clarity from a higher source if we're totally off with our relationship with ourselves.
And that gift, I think, is given to your daughters in that sense that they can recognize that now and say, I mean, it's obviously terrible they had to learn it the way that they did, but it's the same thing, right? Where you go, well, I can cry about it, or I can say, thank you for this, and make the most of it, and then actually turn it around and do something good with it. Which is
and they both do. I mean, they're both very successful in what they do. They're great young ladies. My oldest one's married, got a great husband. My youngest is an entrepreneur, starting her second business already in the real estate industry. And, they thank their mother a lot for the time they had with her and what they learned from her.
Thanks for sharing that with us.
Oh, you bet.
On here, seriously, that's awesome that you shared that. There was something that you said that struck me. When that happened, and you went to your daughter and she asked you why, your answer was pretty simple, but it's really profound. There's a bigger picture.
Yep.
I think that's a pretty profound thing, and something that we can use a lot personally at different points in our life when someone's coming to us and asking why, and they might be in the middle of that emotion and not able to really look at the long-term picture, is just to let them know, hey, there's a bigger picture in play. We just need to figure out what it is.
We just need to figure it out. I mean, we don't control anything anyway. The only thing we can control is our own thoughts and emotions. I mean, everything else is controlled by that higher power, whether you want to believe it or not. And, I've seen it firsthand, and I'm living proof of it. I mean, people say, oh, my God, how many lives do you have? I mean, literally. I mean, if you read my book, I wasn't supposed to be born. My mom had her tubes tied before I was born.
Holy cow, I got to read the book.
And then it goes on from there. And, like I said earlier, two car accidents I should have been killed in. Motorcycle accident I should have been killed in. 3 years after my wife passed away from a heart condition, I had to have open heart surgery because I had a bad hereditary valve. And that's where, you talk about, Ryan, you were talking about, diet and exercise and keeping your mind straight and all that. Well, I went into that open heart surgery in the best mental, physical, spiritually, emotionally, financially shape I could go into it because I had two daughters that were relying on me. They already lost their mother. Here's their dad going in for open heart surgery. So you know what? I'm going to go into it in the best shape I can. I went in on December 22nd. I was home on December 24th. Went through the rehab. Everything was great. 3 years later, actually 5 years later, so it was 2 years ago April, the valve gets infected. I almost die.
Holy cow.
I have to go in for another open heart surgery. And that one was an emergency one. My body was septic. I had to carry a penicillin bag for 8 weeks afterwards. But if I wouldn't have had the mindset and everything that I had going into that, being in physical shape, same thing. I keep myself in physical shape. I keep myself in spiritual shape. Yeah, do I fall off and, go to hell once in a while? Yeah, I do. But you know what? You got to go back to it.
What we've learned here, Kelly, is that if anybody in the world has had an excuse to go back to drinking, it's you.
Right?
And you've avoided it. So nobody,
Yeah.
so people listening, your problems, if you're going to make the excuse, well, his life is like, no. Look, we've all experienced things. We've all been through things. There's nothing in your life worth going back to that for.
No.
So, man, I'm super grateful we've had this time to chat today, Kelly. I'd love to give you the opportunity to tell everybody a little bit about your book, where we can get it, and just a little background there, and then we'll wrap things up.
So the book is kind of a memoirs of my life. When my wife passed away, we were raising money to name the local cardiac rehabilitation center after her, which we ended up doing. Well, we were going around to service clubs, and I was telling my story, and everybody said, "Hey, do you have a book?" And I'm like, "No." So it actually took me 4 years to write the book, or 4 years to start it, a month to write it, and about 10 months to edit it. But yeah, it's
5-year overnight success, right?
5-year overnight success. So it's kind of a memoirs of my life, what I've been through, a lot of what we talked about here today. And at the back of the book, I have what I call my 10 renegade laws of success, things that I feel really help me succeed and to push me forward into who I am today. So you can find the book on Amazon. I also did an Audible, so that's on there as well. Or you can go to kellyschols.com and find it through my website.
So more so, like, people listening, it's like, hey, if you want to be a millionaire, read the book. But it's more about, if you want to become the kind of person that can attract millions of dollars into your life, success on all levels, and go far beyond the idea of just getting $1 million in the bank, that's going to be the book you want to read. This has been so great, Kelly. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been, very touching. Please give our love to your daughters. Now we feel like we've have somewhat of a connection to them, and just send them our gratitude as well for allowing the story to be out there. So, thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kelly. Always good talking to you, man. Appreciate you.
You as well, Justin. Appreciate both of you. Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll see you. Bye. Hey, thank you so much for checking out this episode of the Win Your Mind, Win Your Market podcast. If you liked it, if you enjoyed it, be sure to leave us a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're on a podcast platform, be sure to leave us a review, and check us out on the next episode. Until then, win your mind, win your market.